Hello, everyone, and welcome to MATHurdays. I'm excited to be here with so many of you all today. And in order to interact fully today, you're going to need a copy of the slides. I'll project them here on the main screen, but that's how you will interact. So welcome. My name is Teresa Wells. I'm an assistant professor out of George Mason University in the Math Ed Leadership Program. I've been teaching online for a decade, sometimes in K-12 classrooms, other times at university levels. But regardless, I think there are many advantages to online. And while I had 10 years to slowly dip my toe into this, I'm here to share with you some of the tips and tricks that I do to make it easier for anyone who feels like they have cannonballed into this. So today, on this front page, you'll notice there is a link to MATHurdays. If you like this session and you want to watch previous recordings, they are there. You can email me, you can go to my website, Twitter handle, YouTube channel, and today's activities are not original. They come from really great resources. So I wanted to point you to those resources. We're going to explore a math routine called Would You Rather and a rich task called Pouring Paint. The Would You Rather comes from wouldyourathermath.com, and the rich task comes from the Virginia Department of Education. They make several rich tasks for each grade level and give teachers lots of resources. On slide 2, these are bookmarks you might want to make. The first one is for templates. I don't think any teacher should have to start from scratch. So there's lots and lots of templates here where you can go in and use something immediately in your class. And I try to update these pretty regularly, so I'll continue to have more and more up there. The second link, again, goes to MATHurdays, where you'll find all these tasks from previous times. You'll even get the blank slide templates. So if you want to watch the recording and then maybe present the PD at your school, you have the blank slides right there. All right, let's get in. I'd like to hear from you as we build our community. What's going on in your lives? What are your successes and celebrations? And if you would put those on, you can pick slide 3, 4, or 5. You'll insert a text box, or maybe you choose to use animated GIFs, Bitmojis, images, and more. And you'll just find a space and put it on in there. Again, if you need to be able to get to the editable slides, the link is in the chat box. So just grab yourself a text box from the top toolbar and insert your text box on either slide 3, 4, or 5, your choice, and tell us what's going on in your lives. If you're just joining us, here is the link to our session. And I'll share my joy recently. There is a game called Multi. I've got it on slide 5. I'll try and get a link in here for you. This game is amazing. My daughter was playing with me. She's in 2nd grade. And on every single one of these tic-tac-toe cells is the products of the 1s times table, 2 times tables, 3s, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9s. And she just decided, because of the type of game it was, that she needed a word for the side numbers, which is factor, and the blocky numbers, which was product. It was really cool to just kind of see that happen and it to be accessible. So that's a cool board game. And if you would turn on your microphone and tell us who you are, who had the challenging week, but you had the kiddo who wrote you and told you how amazing of a teacher you are. Go ahead, Beth.
I had it's just getting my class into like routines and norms as just been, really difficult. And it seems like my whole team and I feel like we aren't keeping up with our county's pacing. And so anyway, but in our county Gmail environment, one of my former students just sent me an email and said, you told me to check in with you in a few years, so I'm checking in. I just want you to know you're amazing. And that like got me through the rest of the week.
Oh man, the things like that get you through the rest of the year, the rest of the decade. Those are the The best. Absolutely. Sheila wrote in here that how do you insert a GIF? And so I happen to use Gifly or Giphy, excuse me. And if I search have fun, I can, search down and be like, okay, this one's looking really cool. I just drag it and let go of it right on the slide, and all of a sudden there it is. So it's a pretty quick and easy way of putting that in there. Let's see, we've got lots of other fun ones. And who's doing the global read aloud with fifth grade? How's it going?
Oops. That's me, Jerry from Seattle, Washington area, Marysville, Washington. It's super fun.
And
Love the global
how are
read
you
aloud.
celebrating it?
We're connecting through Flipgrid right now, and we're sending postcards. We just connected with a class from Massachusetts, and my students are loving that. So yeah, it's like a big global read aloud, global book club. So it's super fun.
Awesome. Oh, that's so cool. I can't wait to explore that more. Um, Let's see. Some of us want to see the animated GIF again. I go to giphy.com and I type in something. So in this case, it's have fun, and it brings up all sorts of different ones. Definitely take a look at them because some of them are definitely school appropriate and others might not be. Um, but when you find what you want, you just click, drag, and then let go, and it appears right there on the slide. That also works for a lot of images, by the way. Whose doggy had surgery and is he doing better?
Hello. My dog, I was working to do service dogs, and we ended up then rescuing 2 dogs, and they were never fixed. And one's a boy, one's a girl, and I considered leaving them the way they were, but I was counseled and said one of them had to be spayed or neutered, and got the girl fixed because that would have been keeping, you know what I mean. Anyway, for the reasons, and it's really tough keeping them apart. And it was really hard to do, and hopefully in 2 weeks, there's another 2 weeks of keeping the brother sister separated and missing each other, and we'll all be back together.
Aw.
It's going to be a journey.
I've been enjoying listening to this journey of the pups the last couple weeks, so thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
And somebody did choral counting with fractions, decimals, and percents. What a great way of bringing that up to the secondary grade levels. Who was that? How did it go?
Hi, that was me. This is Jessica. I did it with my 6th grade class. We've been working on rational number equivalents, and it's been amazing to see the connections that they're starting to notice between the different numbers. It also allows some of the students who've been reluctant to participate. It's really easy access once they realize the pattern. So we've been counting by all the different ways we can count by quarters. And one of the kids even pointed out after we had done 1 day of fractions, 1 day of decimals, and 1 day of percents, oh, if you multiply all of them by 4, you get to the whole. And that just brought a lot of connections, and we've had a lot of really interesting noticings and patterns that have come out of that. So it's been really fun.
That is so beautiful. I love hearing about math and extending it beyond what people typically think of choral counting and really getting into rational numbers. Well, fabulous, folks. This is Successes and Celebrations. Before we get into small groups and talk about math and engage in some productive struggle, I'd like to make sure that we are feeling like we have a sense of community, even though for many of us we are complete strangers. Some of us are familiar with one another. We've come to several of these, and it is nice getting to know you virtually. Our math routine starts on slide 6. The math routine is called Would You Rather? I have listed both the website here and the Twitter handle of the author here. And so if you are interested in some other Would You Rathers, you can definitely check that out. And I'm going to attempt to keep the heart of the routine intact and simply show ways that you can do this routine in a virtual environment. To do that, I'm focusing on three specific moves. They are on slide 7. The first comes right from the author, choose a path and justify it. We're going to type a response on a slide for one side or the other. And then we're going to have a little bit of dynamic time where we move things around and use the microphone to share out. And I'm going to be looking at emojis during this phase. If you find that you're thinking like, gosh, I want to switch, there's going to be a specific emoji to use, and that's going to demonstrate that out to the class. All right, so let's explore it. Let's have a chance to do this like a learner, and then we'll come back and talk as a teacher. Slide 8 has our scenario. Which one would you rather have? Evenly split the remaining brownies in scenario A or scenario B. Notice that scenario A is sharing with 5 friends and scenario B is sharing with 6 friends. There are spaces for you to write a response on slide 9 and 10. If we need more room, we can head to slide 11, but I think 9 and 10 is all we're going to need. So you're going to pick the side you want, and you're going to give an explanation right there in that little sticky note. If you're just joining us, here is our link. We're doing Would You Rather. It starts on slide 8, and people are responding on slide 9 and 10. And welcome if you're just joining us. We're on slide 9 and 10, deciding which brownie we would rather share. And if you notice your sticky note changing color, that's just a cue that we're going to discuss this one a little bit more. All right, it looks like most people have a response down. We are going to explore some of these a little bit more. And so I have selected 4 that I would like to talk about as the teacher that, are going to, in a sense, lead into our discussion. I do like my students to know ahead of time if I'm going to call on them. It helps to ease microphone anxiety. So one of the things that I do is give you a highlighted box there. All right, so we're going to head down to slide 12. In our first justification, it was static. The picture could not move, and that meant that you had to kind of do some reasoning in your head. This next one, all of these little A's and B's can move independently, and they are transparent. So if it helps when you're describing your situation, you are more than welcome to move them. As someone is sharing on this screen, I'm going to ask that if you agree with them, you use the chat box by putting in a smiley face. If you think, oh, wow, okay, that's cool. I'm actually going to switch my mind. I think I'd rather have the other one based off of this. You're going to put that little like, whoa face. There's an example in the chat box. And that means that you're thinking about switching because of their explanation. So on slide 12, would the author of this tell us a little bit more about why they said, I would rather have a bigger brownie because brownies are awesome?
Okay, hello, that's me, Jerry. Well, I do enjoy brownies, and I'm thinking that if it's cut into 5 equal parts on the A's, that 1 out of 5 brownies will be a bigger brownie, and if I like brownies, that would be awesome. Or the B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 out of 6.
So you're saying
So
that
my
the A brownie is bigger than the B brownie?
yes.
And would you eat all of the A brownie?
I don't know. I guess it depends on how big it is.
Fair enough. All right, we're going to kind of continue this model and think about it as we look at the next couple. Feel free to put in a smiley face if you agree. You can put the ooh face if you're thinking of changing your mind. If you aren't sure or disagree, there's even like a little thinking face you could choose to use. And again, that chat box is over in your other window or tab in Collaborate. And if we head down to slide 13, would the author of this one tell us a little bit about, you said no issues among who gets more or less if you just use what is already determined as equal.
Hi, this is Linda. I'm from Boston. I like doing Would You Rathers, and I had an experience last fall with a group with apples, and the discussion became trust issues over who was cutting and would they be fair, did they know how to do their fractions. So I just found it, some of my students are just impulsively going on, well, it's already cut, so whether I get more or less, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go at that size. Others did it just to kind of having to avoid kind of figuring out the fraction piece. So I find sometimes I have to be careful at what type of would I rather I put up there, because sometimes the math conversation doesn't go right to the math talk. It goes more to equitability of the food item.
Yeah, so kids always think about that. Man, what if someone else is cutting this one? What is it going to be like? And these B ones are already cut, so you know what you're getting. I see a lot of thinking faces in the chat. Beth, would you like to share with us what you're still thinking about here?
Sure. I guess the equity part of it was just like that wasn't something that I had considered when I was making my initial decision. So I was like, oh, I hadn't really thought about that part. And then teaching at a grade level where developmentally, that's, you know, equality is absolutely everything to these kids.
Yeah, what if we cut it like that and the fifth person got like that little chunk? I don't really know about that one. It's going to be a little interesting. On slide 14, if the author could share with us, you say, I want to share A with 5 friends because there are fewer people to share it with. I know that it is less brownie to divide, but hopefully I get more. How do you see this, like hopefully, and what are you thinking here?
This is Sheila. I really don't have going on. I just couldn't handle figuring out which was bigger. Yeah, I've been thinking about it like, first of all, I wasn't sure whether it was a total of 5 people or it was me plus 5 friends. So that got me a little stuck. And yeah, so I guess with those 4 pieces, I don't know, do I have to cut them into a total of 20 pieces and then figure out if it's a total of 5 sharing? I don't know. I'm embarrassed here.
So that's really interesting that you say cut it into 20 pieces. And, because of the magic of online, we can actually make those 20 pieces, and we could even showcase that, right here with the pieces. Um, but that's not always going to be the case for kiddos. I do want to show how we can do this, though. Um, I can drag it so that it fills the full length. So there we go. That's it cut in 5, and you said you wanted 20. So there we go. We have actual pieces now cut up. And I thought it was kind of neat, Sheila, how you mentioned this. It made me think about brownie bites. And now they might be equitable, but is that still what you want? I see some other
Yeah.
thinking faces on there. It may have been for some different ones. Laura, can you tell us which one you had a thinking face about?
I had a thinking face about the one on slide 14 because I hadn't thought about who was cutting the brownie pieces. So that kind of got me thinking, just because I hadn't considered that. I would just assume that all the pieces would be cut equally, and the equity piece never entered into my mind. So that got me thinking.
I see. And my last question, everyone can feel free to respond in the chat box. If we were to grab one of these bee brownies and lay it right here, I should probably bring that to the front. Does this help us at all in deciding if we want A or B? Tell me your thinking in the chat box. And Jerry, can you tell us how you see the size comparison?
I think it just shows a great visual that you can see that B would fit into A, so A is obviously bigger. So if you wanted a bigger brownie, then you can see that.
So we can
Looks like
see A is bigger.
2/3. Yes.
And Debbie mentions if cut equally, A has a bigger portion. Debbie, can you tell us a little more? And Debbie, if you do get your mic doesn't work, no problem. And so we're going to put teacher hats on for just a minute. Some of the things I really wanted to gather out of here are this overlay, but this overlay with a piece kind of taken out, and comparing one piece on this side to the pieces on that side. And we can dive even deeper into this. It also leaves us ready for our pouring paint problem, which we're going to get into next. So as a reminder, the steps that I did on slide 7 was you responded, then you used your microphone to share and move the pieces, and finally connect in calling on people who had thinking or flipped emojis. Alrighty, let's jump into our rich task. If you join me on slide 17, 17 has the math teaching practices, and you will see all 8 of these today shining big and bright. They are up in the forefront, and they will not be they will be seen. Before we begin on slide 8, this is the problem-solving oath that I challenge each of you to read today. And if you agree to pledge to this oath, you're going to type your name in the chat box. I, Teresa, promise to try my best. I will make sense of patterns and numbers. I will use manipulatives and drawings. I will make mistakes. I will ask questions. I will listen to other ideas. I will stay engaged by always trying to find another solution or representation. I am a problem solver. I make the world a better place. And look at all the problem solvers we have. Our task is on slide 19. It says at the end of art class, 6 tables had leftover blue paint. The amounts are shown below. The art teacher asked Marie to combine 2 cups of paint into her empty cup. Her cup is the same size as the ones on the tables. Which container would Marie combine into her paint cup without it overflowing? Show your math thinking using tools, pictures, words, or numbers. I've supplied 5 virtual manipulatives that you could choose to use on slide 20, but you're not restricted to those. And at this point, I'm going to put you in breakout rooms. Turn on your microphones, say hello to people, find your group slide below, and see how many representations you all can get in 20 minutes. Alrighty, our breakout rooms are starting now. Say hello to your new friends.
Teams that we're all going to do, and then we have a
Do you want to record our names at the top of the slide? That way we all get to see this here.
I'm going to take a look at some of the manipulatives.
And me too. I know I need a few minutes to play around with this. Maybe we can play for a little bit, then come back together and discuss.
That sounds great.
A math specialist for my building in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
Do you work in elementary or high school?
It's elementary. My school is K through 6, but my math specialist for K through 8.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Mm-hmm. I am testing out my new computer, so I'm trying to figure out how to toggle back and forth my slides.
I went ahead and shared my Chrome tab, so you don't have to toggle back and forth if you're testing out.
Okay.
Thank you, Raha.
Of course.
Because as I say, I can share. This is what we use in Fairfax County for our online, or at least my school is using this for online learning, and we can one of us, or I can try to share the slides so we can all see what we're putting on. Like it's up on the screen that we're all looking at right now.
Oh, I do it. I do it. Teresa shares. I have Google Slides open, and
that you're working with.
But when you talk about denominators, you can think about what denominators are related to each other. For example,
We have the 3, the 4, and the 12.
Mm-hmm. And then the 5 and the 10 are related to each other. And it's nice because they're both on top of each other, so we can just visually see it that way.
So do we want to approach it? Do we want to approach it that way, or do we have another way that we're thinking that might? So like if I grab, let's see, how could I visually?
I just looked at 2/8. Is that 2/8?
Yes, we have 2/8 and 3/4. That those pair well together.
Right, and that for me that would be I simplified 2/8, which of course was 1/4.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3/4 I know was 75% and then I just added those two together without it spilling over.
Mm-hmm.
So
Let
that
me
was my
see if I
first thought.
can. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Hey, go ahead, Lauren. I'll delete.
Oh no, I was just trying to think like if I could make 4s and then change the colors to show like the 2/8 and the 3/4.
Okay.
I haven't used it in a while either, so I don't even know if I did it correctly.
Oh, Math Playground.
Go ahead and bring it in if you have something. I'm
going to pop it on just to see. What I did was...
I'm just drawing each one, but go ahead.
So I set up, because again, I haven't played with it in a while, so I went and made my top row I did ace. So I did the 2/8, and then I converted the 3/4 to 6/8, and that gave me the whole. But again, I haven't played with the bars in probably in a good couple months, so I'm a little rusty.
Does anybody know how to get like the same size fraction bar? I'm just kind of like trying to line it up. I don't know if you can like copy so you have the exact same.
Oh, I just figured out if you click on the so see like on the green. Okay, so if you go back to if you go into it, if you click on, I think the first fraction.
Okay.
If you click on it, then you can move. Oh no, you can't. I'm sorry.
I just kind of sized it, but I don't know that it's exactly the same.
Can we see what you're doing?
Hi,
I don't know
Jerry.
if I can share my screen.
Yeah, if you can share your screen or post it on your slide, some of those complications in can we make our whole the same are really important in mathematical understanding. So those are some of the things I'm looking for to highlight in the discussion.
I don't get how to use this Math Playground fraction tool.
I'm not sure how to share my screen and collaborate. I can copy and paste what I have, I guess.
Well, 2/8.
Hi there, group. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. How are you doing, Teresa?
I am good. Glad to see you here. Yeah, so if you all are using some different manipulatives, feel free to take a screenshot of them, or if you're using handheld things or drawings, you can upload those as well.
Teresa, quick question. About how much more time do we have to work?
We are going to work until about 12:45.
Great, thanks so much. That's helpful to know. I need a few more minutes to play with the manipulatives, and I'm happy to screenshot what I'm doing. So feel free to start talking if you all are ready, but I'm not quite there yet.
Combine into the paint cup without overflowing. So if we filled it right up to the whole, like, that doesn't count as overflowing, right? If it goes right up to the rim of the cup, that's not going to count as overflowing. So if you do the 3/4 and the 2/8, that'll be fine. So if we look, because we're looking for friendly, like, denominators that are compatible with each other.
Okay.
We want to.
What about 5/10? And I'm just thinking 1/5.
Yep. Yep, those would be compatible for sure. All right, so let's pull. Let's see. And I want to, yes, because I wanted to keep.
Hey, Group 1. What's everyone working on right now?
Thinking. Just whatever, because I kept going forth and I could not think.
Ooh, fraction circles. I see Jessica wrote that.
In the wrong group.
And Debbie's trying to use the manipulatives to solve a problem. Yeah, it's always fun just to take some time to tinker around with the manipulatives. I can't wait to see them on your slide when you have an image ready to copy. And if anyone needs help making screenshots, just let me know. I'm happy to walk you through it.
All right. Just so you know, I was in the wrong group.
Whoops. All right, I'm going to shrink these to fit so they fit the hole. I think that's 10, yep. Because I doubled this out of 5.
Yes, so then
Let's change these a different color.
Yeah, can maybe 5/10 in a different color, and then 1/5 would be 2/10.
I'll just make the 5ths that aren't claimed, I'll just leave them as white.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah.
So I will label.
Yep.
We'll label the 5/10.
Oh, I know what to do. I can take this and make it 1/5. Hold on.
Yeah.
While we're working and thinking,
I'm going to put that because Jessica asked, because she accidentally closed it, and I'm going to put it in the chat. Now we all open it. I think we all open it from here, and then let me see if I can share it.
Hey, Group 1. Those are some really cool looking fraction circles you have there. How does that help you think about the problem?
Hi, yeah, so I'm using the, and I can share the link. I think I can
that's a
share
good
it
idea.
in here. So I just created the cups, and then what's really cool if I, is that you can drag those circles on top of each other and turn them. So, and they overlay, so you can kind of see, like, if you put 2 together, how full does that circle become? So that's what I'm trying to do now, is just move them around and see if I can find 2 that don't have any overlapping, because then that means that that hole isn't full.
And you know, when we work with children with models, there is a bit of a conceptual leap to thinking about a physical cup filled with liquid and then a two-dimensional circle with only a partial area covered, because you know the liquid doesn't sit in the cup in these nice little fractional amounts. So we are making a bit of a stretch here. I usually ask students, what does the white space represent in your models?
Oh, that's a great question.
So does anyone know what that is?
What was the question again?
What does the white space represent? Each of those circles has color in white.
So the white space would represent the part of the cup that's not
filled?
Oh, so the white is the part that's not filled. So our author of this diagram mentioned that you can overlay them, but even if you can't overlay them, knowing that the white is the part that's not filled, can you use this image to start to make paired cups that would work?
Yeah, I'm looking at the red cup and the green cup, and I noticed that, okay, sorry, my daughter's playing right next to
Oh,
me.
that's why we got in this profession. Kids are welcome to MATHurdays.
So the red and the green cup, even though they're divided into different pieces, when I look at it, I can see that that red piece would fill in, it looks to me like the red piece would fill in the white space of the green circle.
Cool. So you're looking for, like, I would call that strategy maybe like the puzzle piece strategy. It fits in. Does anyone see another two that could fit together?
They have to be completely full.
They just cannot overflow.
Okay, so then I would go with the yellow and the blue.
And what's your strategy for knowing that one?
One is half there, and the other one is just less than half. So I know they're not going to overflow. It's close to getting full.
So that time I heard a lot of, deciding whether or not it was exactly half or less than half. So we've got our benchmarks there. Are there any other pairs that we could put together? And I'm really interested in your strategy. One of the things that I did here was I used the scribble tool to circle. If your group wants to consider to think about like more ways that these would, more pairs, that would be amazing. That scribble tool is found underneath your line tool, and it's the last one. Feel free to delete that once you got the hang of it.
Yes, like now that you mentioned the like, if something's a half and less than half, I'm thinking any two pieces that are less than a half could be a possibility. So it looks like there's a lot of different options.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
But, and then I'm wondering if we could get the red, orange, and purple. Less than a quarter.
Oh, so now we're putting together
1/4.
3 cups. Absolutely. Keep adding to this. Y'all are on a roll.
I drew each of the fractions that we were working with, and then I took a screenshot so I could flip them around and I thought about whatever fraction I was starting with and then the fraction I might add to it, and I was trying to show like, for example, the one that the 3/4 in the yellow is really full. So if I try to combine it with some of those other fractions, they're more medium size, like 5/12, or even 5/10, it'll be too full. It'll be more than a full cup of paint. If I combined it with the smaller ones, they're the red and yellow, that would be okay because it wouldn't go over the whole cup. Like I said, I just made the fraction bars and then I kind of rotated them or flipped them upside down so I could think about, I wanted to visualize like what a cup of paint might look like.
Right. I've not used any of these tools before successfully, so I was only able to manage on slide 23 a number line, which is hard to see, but I divided it into 12ths, and I said 5/12 and then plus a half, which was 5/10, but I just said that's 6/12, so I reached 11/12.
The
Welcome back,
all of it.
everyone. We're all back together in the main room, and I know we could have used more time on this. One thing I want to be explicit about is that I'm not showing necessarily the wait time with students, but sometimes they really are able to come up with all these representations in just 20 minutes. So let's go ahead and talk whole group for a minute and see all the different ways that you solved this problem. I'm down on slide 27. And what I tried to do is grab some images in the moment. So some of your peers may have added more to these, but I'm looking at the image in the moment. So slide 27, the question I have for you in all of these deals with the white space. And what does the white space represent in each of these? I want to make sure we have a firm understanding of white space. And we'll start here with the little cup. If you did this one, if this was yours, tell us what a white space means and how it changes in this visualization.
Hi, Teresa. That was just it's me, Laura. That's just a GIF that I pulled just so that we could like see visually. And to me, the white space is how much is left before you fill up the cup with paint.
Excellent. Thank you, Laura, for bringing that one in there. It was such a great visual. How about the author of the circles? I'm going to call this the yellow model. What does the white space represent here?
Yeah, so similar to the image of the GIF, is the white space is how much of the cup is not filled up.
And how come this cup is filled up and it looks more like pizza slices, whereas the red model looks like a cup? How does that help us?
My thinking was that I could overlay the circles so I could see if there was extra white space as I started combining them, because then I would know that whole cup, which is to the right, wouldn't overflow.
So it wouldn't overflow. So you're looking at both the color and the white space at the same time. There's a couple other models here that have white space that I wanted to address. And the next one is this white space. I'm going to call this one the blue model. If this was yours, tell us what that white space means.
Hi, Teresa. That was our group. Lara made it, but I can speak for her. This was using two different fractions. We were using 1/5 and 5/10, and we were trying to figure out what would happen if we overlap them, and the white space is how much is not filled up yet.
Oh, so the white space is still not filled, but you have two other colors, and that's a combination of those fractions. All right, let's take a look over here. I think this connects very well with our circle. If you were part of the pink strategy, what does your white space represent and why is that useful?
That was me. The white space is the part of the cup that was left to be filled, and by organizing my fraction bars the way I did, I could see, without overlaying them but next to each other, I could see what the filled part versus the unfilled part of both fractions.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. I just want to connect with everyone else and make sure we have a firm understanding of these two different ways of looking at white space. So I'm going to ask everyone to grab a voice, have a voice in the chat box. The green model is more like either the red, yellow, blue, or pink, and why? Or you could respond about the black. The black model is more like the red, yellow, blue, or pink, and why? Go ahead and make a connection in the chat box. Oh, absolutely, Sheila. That would be so nice right now. Again, the green is more like red, yellow, blue, or pink, and why? Or the black is more like red, yellow, blue, pink, and why? So, So if we talk with our teacher hat for a minute, one of the things I'm doing here is building trust over the microphone with low kind of level questions. What is the white space? And all of them, they're the same thing. But there are similarities and differences amongst these, and it's going to help us in the next strategy. So before we dive into some really deep mathematics, I want students to be able to have a voice in the chat and have a voice using the microphone. And then I'm going to head down to slide 28. Now we're starting to combine different things. And I'm going to start off with this orange and green model. Let's call it the purple. In the purple one, both of these fractions have the same number of pieces. Would the author of this tell us how this model helps them determine if they can combine them or not?
Yeah, I think what was happening is we were discussing, similar to the example you have in the corner, that it actually did answer the question, because even though I think we were looking for two fractions that would equal to the size of the cup, even though it was a little less than a whole, it still counted as those two cups could be combined without an overflow. It was just a matter of how close it was to the top.
So how do you know that this doesn't overflow?
We were looking at that small white spot. I think it's a 1/12 of the room was still not touching to be equal, because we looked at 5/10, that was half the cup. So anything over 5/10 would have gone over. Anything under 5/10 would have kept all the paint in the cup.
So I'm hearing two things happening here. I'm hearing this idea of the halfway mark. So we've got our benchmark fractions, and I'm also seeing the little leftover piece. But there's something else really interesting happening here. We have 5 oranges and 5 greens. So why doesn't that make the whole? Why does it make less than a whole? Does anyone know how to explain why there's 2 different pieces that are 5, but they don't make a whole? Beth, go ahead.
Because they're both 5, but there are 5 pieces out of a different total number of pieces. So the more the sections the whole is partitioned into, the smaller each section is.
I think I got your voice on here. If there's anything on that you want to change, please feel free to. So it's funny, we have the same numerator, but now we're talking about the denominator. Mags, go ahead. If you do get your mic on, Mags, feel free to interrupt me and share out. Um, so here we've got a lot of different ways. I'm going to invite you to use the scribble tool that's underneath the lines to see if you can find any other matches in the circle diagram. Right now they found 2 of them. I'm curious if you see any others that could be combined in the cup. Oh, I can see people are thinking the green and the purple together, or the purple and the blue together. All right, if you thought green and purple, how do you know that that won't overflow? If that was you, turn on your mic and tell us.
Hi, Teresa. I know lots of people circle that. I did as well. I think the thing I like about the green and the purple is the green is cut into fourths, and the purple to me visually just looks a little bit less than 1/4. So even if I don't worry, like if I take the denominators out of it and I don't worry about all the greatest common factor and all that stuff, just visually I can see that the purple will fit because it's a little bit less than 1/4.
Excellent, Raha. Thank you. So yes, we can visually look at that, but we can also have a conversation about using the same strategy from the purple about why, if we know this is fifths, that we're certain it will fit into there. All right, folks, we could go on with so many others. What I tried to highlight here today is using benchmark fractions like 1/2, using common numerators like we did in the purple diagram, and using common denominators, which is a typical way of doing it, which we would have in a couple of the others. If you want to see my notes about what else I usually look for, I have that on slide 29. I'm looking for common denominator, common numerator, equivalent fractions, and benchmarks, and then how those strategies can help us add. I might also talk about the evenness of fractions, and on slide 28, why it's okay to make some of these uneven in that bottom right diagram. Well, folks, it's been an hour, so I want to go ahead and close us up here. The MATHurdays session for next week is already posted. We're going to do an open middle problem in the context of geometry and also talk about area and volume. It is appropriate for grades 5 through 10. If you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you. Again, templates and recordings are available on slide 31. And if you're new to a lot of this, I have several how-to videos that address many frequently asked questions on slide 32, such as how on earth do I even begin, all the way down to what if my students are using an iPhone? What does this look like on there? On slide 33, I have a link to my book that's coming out next month, Teaching Math at a Distance. And there's 2 additional opportunities that people have wanted me to share at this community. On slide 34, if you are interested in checking out an app that explores the 5 practices on a tablet, on a screen, on an app, this company, Amplify, is looking for your help. They're willing to give you a $25 Amazon gift card or $50 Donors Choose if you want to check it out. And their email address is at the bottom of slide 34. On slide 35, if you want to help out a doc student at TCU, they are studying math discourse in the virtual classroom, and she is looking for participants to help out with a survey, so there's information there. And finally, if anyone wants to stay after, I will answer any questions you have. Talk more math, talk more tech down in the virtual parking lot. It's been a pleasure, everyone. Thanks for coming, and happy MATHurdays. I'd like to hear about the game you mentioned in the beginning. Yes. So I'm gonna just go to Amazon and type in multi-game. Whoops, there it is. I'm gonna link it on the slide. This game is so fabulous. I cannot sing its praises more. Essentially, you try to make tic-tac-toe first on the little boards and then on the big board to win. What you'll notice is on the little boards are all the factors and the products. And so you're trying to move these pieces. Some kids, if they are still new to multiplication, will just focus on the numbers right there. Others will quickly identify the commutative property. So if the number 12 is made and they see that the factors are 3 and 4, they're going to know to look both in the 3 section and the 4 section. And it's super cool for that reason. Someone's asking more about the 5 practices research participation. I want to say that you are going to explore the app and then you work on a 1-hour online activity. But the best thing to do is to email the folks at Amplify. I believe that they said that these dates are extended because they wanted me to bring it on MATHurdays. So I would say ignore that and email them if you have questions. They reached out to me and said, hey, this is the group we want to showcase it to. And I had the chance to explore it. It's pretty cool. It gives you a task, it gives you some of the different anticipation stages, and it lets you add your own anticipated, lets you select and sequence, and then start to ask certain questions in each. So definitely check it out. And if you want to use your mic to chat, feel free. I'm happy to read off of here also.
Hi, Teresa. I'm really curious in terms of the younger grades, getting them to be more facile with being able to work in this environment. Do you use the Google Slides with the younger grades? Let's say
Yes.
like a first and second grade?
I use
Getting that,
them. Go
we
ahead.
use Zoom. We use Zoom. So that would mean that they'd have to know how to click on the tab for the Google slide, or they would click on the link and then they would work in there.
Mhm. Yes, so I definitely go slow to teach this, but there's a couple things that I find really, really important with the younger grades. And just to kind of give you some impact feedback on where I'm coming from, I support several schools in the K-1 environment, but I also have a Daisy Girl Scout troop of kindergarten first graders, and we've been moving into these slides since the pandemic hit. Now they're first and second. So there's a couple things that are important with those ages, um, and that's in looking at your cursor and moving things around. So we talk about well, that's actually not a good example. Let's see, insert image um, for cursor. I don't know really what to look for. Here we go. We talk about the different pieces and what they do on the Google Slides. So sometimes if they want to type, they're going to be looking for this north, south, east, and west. You can move it any way symbol. If you want to type in it, you're going to look for the cursor. And yes, we even have little rhymes for them because it helps us out. But that makes it so like if I want to move this text box, I'm going to wait till I have the up, down, left, and right, move it anywhere symbol. And if I want to type, I have the cursor, but now I can't move it anywhere because I have the cursor. So little things like that definitely have to be taught.
Okay. And you find that the first and second graders catch on to that?
They do. They catch on to it. One thing I'd recommend is doing a whole lesson on making mistakes. That's where you get to see
Yeah.
all the fun things. I do have a session on that, a recording on my website.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I know that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I've seen that.
Yeah, so with the girls that I teach regularly, we did mistakes first, and then we moved back and forth, back and forth. We even did some speed, like competitions, like, all right, everyone, you're in Zoom, write something in the chat box. All right, in a second, we're going to go to Google Docs and you're going to put an emoji on that slide. Let's see how quick you can do it and come back. So they would go there, put an emoji or type their name, and then they would come back to Zoom or Collaborate and they would say that they're back. And so we did little things like that just to get them used to it. And then we got digging deep.
Okay. Yeah. And what do you do, because they, sitting in front of the screen, they get very fidgety. What are some things you do to help with that?
So one thing that we didn't see too many of today, but are really important to me, are handmade manipulatives, things that the kids will grab stuff that they have at home in order to represent the problem. So things like Cheerios, things like Legos, are
Yeah.
really popular in my class. They will turn on their camera. Um, they'll take a picture of what it is they're trying to model. So I'm going to show my picture here.
I need to come over here. Yeah.
And so they'll actually show what they are modeling from their handheld stuff. And, handheld manipulatives are just as powerful
Yeah.
online than face to face.
Right. So who's taking the picture? You are or they are?
I took this picture, but they learn to take pictures with their cameras and then they start uploading all the fun things that they're writing and drawing.
Okay.
And are you
Yeah,
familiar with how to do that in Google Slides?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been teaching my teachers how to do that. Yeah. We did some really great work with the 5 practices using that for my 4th and 5th grade classes.
Yay. That's exciting. I
Yeah.
can't wait. If you have any experiences or other things to share, I would love to hear them. Always interested to see how other teachers take a spin on these.
Yeah, no, they did that. We had them, they were working on a task and we actually had them in small groups, and in each of the groups they had roles, and we put them in breakout rooms and they worked on it using their roles, and then they took a picture in the camera and then they inserted into the slide that was assigned to them.
Oh, so cool.
Really great because then the teacher was able to scan, do a gallery walk or a spy walk through all their work and then highlight, a couple.
Oh, that is neat. You mentioned the roles. I'm going to put up here on the slideshow.
I have roles. We have roles, like a nice list. I mean, I've seen yours before, but we have some others that we added, like we use like MATHwordsmith. We tried to make the roles kind of sound cool.
Ooh, what's
So we did.
MATHwordsmith?
Yeah, MATHwordsmith is the person who does the writing for the group.
I like that one.
And then we had our visual representer, who was the person who would do, let's say, manipulatives or whatever drawing.
So that kind of brings us into, I often think about the Lesh model for having multiple representations. So they're kind of in charge of that, making sure that they all show up, huh?
Yeah, and only one person is allowed to move it around, so everyone else has to use their voice.
Ooh, neat.
Because only one person is allowed to hold the pen. And then when we have the visual representer, then that's the only person who can do whatever kind of explaining, maybe why did you use that strategy? How did you solve it? What made you use that representation? Whatever the writing is about, that's what the MATHwordsmith does.
Oh, how cool.
And then you can have like what you call the mayor, where we have the one who is like the facilitator, where that person's job is to make sure everyone's being included. And we have some questions we taught them to ask, like, what do you think? And we want to hear your ideas, and, just to make sure everyone's included.
What was some of the questions that you had mentioned?
Their job is to ask, what do you think? We haven't heard from you.
These are
Things
really
like that.
cool.
And we have them, it's kind of like a script for the facilitators so that no one gets left out.
Oh, that is lovely. And how many roles, how many students do you usually have in a group?
We've been trying to stick to 3.
Mm-hmm.
We've been sticking to 3 because it's just more manageable in the virtual environment.
Yeah.
2 or 3. Even when there's 2, we give them roles.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to take some of these and see if I can make, additional ones so people can move in and out the different roles that they're feeling for in that breakout room that day. I like the idea of having the
Oh,
sentence stems too.
yeah, it just helps to give voice when someone is not participating and the facilitator knows what to say.
Absolutely. Thank you. Jerry,
You're
you
welcome.
said that you did this week and it was super powerful. What did you do? What did you implement? And what tips do you have?
We did the image. That was awesome. I don't know I have lots of slides, I guess, available because bringing in images can, they can overlap each other and that can be frustrating for students. So
Yeah.
having lots of slides where they can just input. And then, so it was awesome. Yeah, we were doing volumes. They had to use 20 views and then they had to, show different size rectangular prisms they could put in. It was fun.
Ooh, that's what we're
I love it.
doing next week.
Oh, okay. I'm in. I love it.
Very fun. All right, folks, were there any other questions out there?
Mm-mm. All right. Thanks again.
Mm-hmm. All right, folks, happy MATHurdays. Have a great weekend.